How's it going, my flesh and blood players? When Compendium of Wraith was announced and they showed the new Draconic cards that Fi was absolutely going to run, a lot of people assumed that he was going to LL very quickly because he got his own Art of War. They thought he was going to be extremely powerful. And as we can see from ProQuest Las Vegas Week 3, Fi only got 2 wins. And then just recently, we got the results for Week 4. He also got only 2 wins. So he's only gotten 4. He is getting a lot closer to the Living Legend because of his multiplier effect. But you can see that he's not being as relevant in the meta as a lot of people assumed that he was going to be. I was kind of skeptical about it, only because, like, yeah, you got the Art of War back, but there's a lot of hard counters on him at the moment in the meta, and there's just other aggro decks that I think are better, and there's a lot of risky payouts. As you can see here, we're running the Kodachis rather than the Emberblade. I've noticed a lot of people playing the Emberblades in the builds. I do understand why, because it is getting a buff out of the new Phoenix of War, but I've always loved Kodachis. I just want to go that route, and so far the build has been feeling pretty good. You're going to see a lot of gameplay here. We had 3 matches, and these first 2, which is this round 1, is a 5 mirror, and you can see that he's using the Emberblade build. So I thought this would be a good matchup for everyone to see the variance between the two. And then the second matchup coming up next is against an Ocilio, and then we have a Teklevossen for round 3. So if you stick around long enough, the Teklevossen matchup can show the majority of the deck and how it's running. I can put a deck list down below just because I'm not going to be going to any pro tours or anything, and the next time I'm going to try and play a lot of events is after the skirmish. I might LL by then, so I don't mind sharing my deck with everyone. What's interesting is now that we are using the Kodachis, we're running the Blood Spattered Vest, which I found came in handy a lot of times just to be able to fix the mana curve that we have. And mainly I say that because we have a lot of 1 costs now in the deck. Possibly why more people are going towards Emberblade for resource efficiency, because you're going to end up running more blues. Right now I'm currently only running 8. Maybe I'll run 9. And your blue option could be open to a lot of things. You can always put in the up sticks if you really want to, because you're not worried about blocking. Nip at the heels is also a possibility blue. I just did the Vain Vengeance for if we end up running Mask of Momentum. We do have some pumps that we can use with it. Maybe not many, but if we're ever able to turn it Draconic, we have that too. Other than that, so we do have 14 1 costs in the deck, which, funny enough, it seems to happen very often where you're finding ways to get resource out to make everything work. The Dragon Scalers, I've had moments to get that to work pretty well. It is nice. Obviously, we're going to run the Shukos because we have the Phoenix Flames, things to get bumped up, like our Ignites. We have our Lava Bursts, and even the Fire that burns within can get a buff from it as well, which is really good. And then, of course, we have our Salts and Tenacity. So that's kind of why I'm fine with the low blue mana curve there, just because the 3 yellows can help. And more times than not, you're okay pitching into those because you're really trying to draw that with your pouncing links. Unless we're doing Mask of Momentum, then you gotta think about stuff a little bit. I do feel like this inventory package is going to change once the Omens set comes out. I'll discuss a little bit more about that once some weapons get revealed, because we only have Ziggy's at the moment. We still have 2 others that need one. But anyways, so we are running the CNCs, which is just, something we can throw in if we need some space. We have to cut through the facade. I think it's, yeah, I always call it facade. It might be wrong, but I like that for a popper, and it can have some relevant use with the fact that things can't be defended with auras. Shelter from the Storm, just because, Flick Knives is a thing. And then I'm kind of on a anti-Acilio sideboard with the 2 Amulet of Echoes, plus the Arcane Compliance, because that does stop amp. And then we have a pretty heavy equipment sweep. We have the Furnace for blocking if we need it. And we're actually kind of pitching some reds, so it's something to think about. Obviously the Mask of Momentum for the Wizard and Gravy matchups. Easy things that we can draw a little bit more. The Smoldering Scalers, I haven't gotten to mess around with too much yet, but that is like a hard counter in this deck as things with Frostbite, so hopefully that can help a little bit, but it's a little rough, especially when we're already trying to swing in Kodachis and using the Blood-Spattered Vest for resources. And we have Tide Flippers as an easy AB1. So that's kind of what it is. We're hoping to high roll into Cilio, draw the counterparts really quick, and then go from there. And just be very aggressive. So the main question of the video, after having a discussion about the build and everything, people thinking that it was overhyped, or some people thinking it was underhyped. I honestly just think it's somewhere in the middle. It's not extremely good. Obviously, we have some hard counters, especially with the meta now being more heavy into the fatigue aspect. Disruption can really hurt the deck because you really need the right cards in hand, and you need a full grip to try and make everything function and have those really spiked turns. With the Art of the Phoenix War, it's the same how Art of War was when it comes to the draw 2. You don't really know what you're drawing into. For all you know, you're drawing 2 cards that you're just going to end up arsenaling and passing. Or, using it as a pitch value. The other issue that we have with it is it's no longer just any attack card. You're actually forced to discard the Phoenix Flame. So me personally, I think you need to be very heavy into the Phoenix Flame package. By running all 3, I have found ways to, use them as a pitch resource, or obviously you're using them for the mini Art of War that we're calling it, and for the Fire That Burns Within. And then you always got to try and make sure you have one in the deck. So I think having 3 makes it a bit of an easier option. Plus you can do Rise from the Ash and do your viability. The new pieces from Compendium, I don't mind. The agility one never does a whole lot, but you never know if it can be useful for like the E-strikes. And yeah, so that can kind of be an issue with 5 being heavy into the Phoenix Flame package, like he's forced to have that build. But I think that's mainly what he wants to do anyways, so I think them leaving him heavier into it is kind of cool, actually. I think it resembles more of what he was supposed to be as a hero, which before a lot of people were only running like 1 Phoenix Flame, or I ran 2 for Flame Call, and it works with the strikes and everything. Overhyped, I definitely think so, because everyone just assumed he was going to LL in like a week. But I wouldn't really say he was underhyped, because he was pretty much unplayable at one point. Now I think he is a very playable deck. Like, I wouldn't think somebody was a fool to bring him at ProQuest. Obviously, he did win only 2, but he is pulling some wins in. I think over time, when either myself or some others find a better build for him and kind of start hammering this deck out, I think then he's going to end up LLing very quickly. We just kind of need some time to work on this deck a little bit. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about it. I'm definitely going to be playing as much Fi as possible and start figuring this out until Omens becomes the thing, because we are going to be hopping on that Aurora train. That's why I'm kind of waiting to see her weapon so we can discuss a little bit more about that set. For those who are still watching, thank you. Please like and subscribe. We're going to just kind of show the rest of these matches here. I'm just not going to be talking as much for you guys. And then, yeah, that way with the Teklevasan matchup, I kind of want you guys to be able to see what's going on there so you can see how the deck's functioning. But again, thank you, and I will see you all next time. Take care.